A while back I reviewed the iKBC F87, which is easily one of my favourite 10 keyless RGB keyboards that look nice and was built well at good value, and I thought this would be a worthy keyboard to do some modding on because of its blank canvas. So I thought, why not give hydro dipping a go? I've seen it done so many times before by different people on their keyboards, and Filco and Barmilo also do this on some of theirs. Now this is the first time that I'm trying this, and I just want to share this experience, so it's not really a tutorial since I'm absolutely not experienced enough or qualified to give pointers, and you'll see later why that is. From the thumbnail you'll see something different because at first I went with a space theme. Basically because of the RGB lighting that kind of relates to stars and stuff, and then there's some little rockets here, so yeah, that's basically why. First up is disassembly. The F87 is super easy to take apart since it doesn't have any screws. Hydrographics is essentially applying a printed design to a surface, and this pretty much has the same preparation requirements as spray painting a surface. So first we gotta sand the top shell. It's just about roughing it up a bit to remove any finish and to create a more grippy surface for the spray to adhere to, and I'm just using wet and dry sandpaper with soapy water to do this, just like I usually do. After that's done and cleaned up, I'm gonna prime it. This will fill in all the gaps and scratches and allow the spray paint to stick better. Before spraying, it's good to tape up the inside edges since it will affect the fit of the shell and it can make it too tight. A couple of coats and some light sanding is good. It's better to do light coats rather than heavy to avoid running, but it also makes it so much easier to fix any mistakes. Then the next step is the base coat. The colour of the base coat may or may not impact on the final look. Some films are translucent and some are opaque. This is the film that I have, and we can see that it is see-through and therefore the colour of the base coat will be seen. So the obvious choice in this case is a dark colour, and I'm just gonna go with matte black. And this is the same thing as the primer. I just took it easy and slow with even coats and fixed any mistakes along the way with a touch of light sanding. And here's a matte black looking clean, and I'll let that dry for a while. So now to the film. It's a bit more colourful than I imagined, but I do like it. And it's just the task of cutting it to size and just trying to get more of the yellow onto the shell since it isn't a pattern film. Then to prevent the film from spreading too far when activated, we just used some masking tape on the edges, and I also taped up the inside edges to prevent the film from sticking there. Okay, so this was my first attempt. I was just going off from everything that I read on the internet. So I have a tub here filled with water, and I added some hot water to make it be around 30 degrees Celsius. There is only one way to place the film. Basically how it works is that we have the printed design, which is the ink, in the middle. On one side we have a layer that reacts to water, so this side goes downwards, and on the other side we have a layer that reacts to activator. So to tell what side is what, you can just lick your thumb and press the film, and whatever side sticks is the side that reacts to water and therefore faces down. When I laid it down, there were creases and air bubbles, which was terrible. I tried to push some out, but it was getting pretty hydrated and soft. And here was my first mistake. I gave it a good spray, but it wasn't liquefying much at all, so I gave it another spray and then tried to dip it. And of course it was terrible and didn't work at all. Attempt number 2, I did the same thing, but it looked much better this time with less creases and bubbles. I gave it a spray with the activator, but then tested it with my finger, and again the film just wasn't liquefying properly, so of course I just added more activator, and this one was actually worse and just ended up being a bunch of goo. I kept reading that overactivation is a really common problem, so this time I went with less, and it still ended up being the same useless result. Before this and during the whole thing, I was of course testing on smaller pieces with varying success, because it's of course a huge waste of film to keep trying, but it never passed onto the main piece, which was really frustrating, especially with how easy it looks on video. So skip forward a bit and I grabbed new activator and then moved to the bathroom just for more space and gave it a spray, and I just went way too heavy this time because the activator wasn't coming out of the nozzle properly and the film just broke apart instantly, so it was just way too heavy. And that was the most interesting part. The two different activators were just completely different. The first can couldn't do anything, but the second activated the film so easily and quickly, and then I just ran out of Galaxy film. So that brings us to the second film I had, which is this marble film. This was another film that I really liked and I thought would look interesting on a keyboard, and most of this is see-through, so the base coat really matters, but of course black wouldn't be suitable, so I had to change it to a white base coat. I did a couple of tests on some small pieces, and here's one where there's too much activator and we can tell how it didn't adhere properly. Alright, so from this attempt there was some progress made, but again it was just poor activator application. Some parts of the film activated differently to others because of that uneven spray, resulting in a crusty and flaky finish. Especially towards the edges, we can see how it's still like in its original film state. Finally, this was the last attempt. Activator application was a bit better and more even, but still there's some parts of the film that didn't properly liquefy. However, this time it's at least somewhat decent. After washing the part, we can see some ripping, but also a few white holes that can be seen up close. But that's where the marble film and the white base coat was really forgiving, as it kinda hides it because of the design. But the coverage was quite good, like the edges were all sticking and on the inside as well. But without looking too closely, I mean it looks absolutely fine. To protect it and seal it, I'll spray it with some clear top coat, and I did several coats since the film was pretty weak and a bit flaky. And putting it back on, and it looks awesome. The marble design really did save me here, with all the cracking and the holes being at least somewhat hidden and matches the design a little bit. It's a shame that I didn't get to go through with the space film and theme, because it really would have complemented the awesome RGB lighting that the F87 has, but being a white backlight type of guy, this looks really sweet for me personally. The marble pattern goes so nicely with the stock black keycaps, plus we have a white metal backplate under those, and finishing it off with the simple white backlighting makes for a really classy monochrome aesthetic. So all up, this was a super frustrating project for me, and I only just scraped through badly with the last attempt. You can follow all the instructions you can online with soak times and water temperatures, but most of those things is just about reducing the variables so it's more easily repeatable. The difficult thing is that all films and all activators act differently, and what it really comes down to is good activator application. I don't have a spray gun set up, so unfortunately I couldn't set like the fan and pressure and all that stuff, which is really important with this. The first activator I got, which was in a usual spray can, was easy to use and was quite even when spraying, but the activator itself just wasn't really working properly. The second activator I got didn't come in a can, but was using a pre-val unit. This time the activator was really good, but the preval system was way too heavy and was too spotty, with the fan being way too narrow, so even application was way more difficult to achieve compared to a standard rattle can. But I'm limited to what I can get here in Australia, and most of the videos that I watched were using products from America with users having great success, so it should be easy enough for all you guys in the US and stuff. But it was just so difficult to work with the activator I had. What would have been awesome is to have the good activator in the standard spray can, and that would have made everything so much easier. So yeah, really I did a terrible job and frankly didn't try again because I ran out of film doing all the little and big tests. It's not really passable, but since it's mine, so it doesn't really matter. If you want to try this for yourself, then just take your keyboard apart and watch a bunch of hydrographic tutorials online, and you should be good to go. There's forums dedicated to this stuff as well, so read up. Also, apologies for all the people that are actually good at this and know what they're doing, as I may have frustrated you. I am loving the monochromatic look though, and for sure I'll try this again in the future.